Following their painful 3-0 defeat against Crystal Palace, things have unfortunately only gotten worse for Arsenal, as David Ornstein provides a shocking update on Kieran Tierney. Arsenal also give updates on the fitness of Takehiro Tomiyasu and Thomas Partey. Fabrizio Romano talks about Gabriel Martinelli's new contract, and Unai Emery gives his honest verdict on Mikel Arteta. Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is Babs14 and welcome back to your boys channel. Last night, it still hurts right now. I am still in recovery mode and I still can't get over the fact that we lost 3 goals to 0. But that was yesterday and today is a brand new day, so smash a like if you enjoy this content, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and help your boy as we are now 600 subscribers away from the big 80k. But let's get into that Arsenal news, and starting off with Arsenal's injury updates. Last night was a painful day for Arsenal Football Club. It was a must-win game for Arsenal after Spurs' win. We dropped down to 5th place, and for the Champions League race, if we had got the points yesterday, it would have been massive. But unfortunately, that wasn't the end of the pain for us Arsenal fans, because now we have some shocking injury news. As with Nuno Tavares starting yesterday in the absence of Kieran Tierney, today via an exclusive from David Ornstein, he confirms that Kieran Tierney is to have surgery later this week on his knee injury, ruling him out for several months. He will miss the remainder of the Premier League season and potentially Scotland's Qatar 2022 qualifying playoff versus Ukraine postponed for June. Kieran Tierney, Tesco's finest KT, will not play a single second in the remainder of this season. In the first half of the season, yes, KT missed quite a few games with injury, and in that period of time, I will say Nuno Tavares did step up. But since I say December, Tierney has come back into the Arsenal team and he has thrived and given Arsenal a surety on the left-hand side. And according to Simon Collins of the Evening Standard, Kieran Tierney has been struggling with this knee injury for a number of weeks, but had been able to continue playing through it. After returning from international duty and feeling discomfort in training, he underwent a scan and that revealed the extent of the damage. That there is not what I want to hear, because if Tierney has had discomfort in his knee, yet he was still allowed to go onto international duty and play for Scotland, potentially him playing 2 90-minute games for Scotland may have aggravated his injury even worse. And this is also why I was scared of the international break, because things like this can always happen. If they are to come back with any sort of injury going into the crunch part of the season, it's always going to be a massive blow for Arsenal Football Club, and that has been the case here. But alas, KT will miss the rest of the season, so get well soon. For Arsenal, this is not a time to cry and sit back and go, oh my god, the season's over. We still have options there, and one being Mr. Nuno Tavares. But of course, in yesterday's game, he put in a bit of a stinker and he was subbed off at half-time by Mikel Arteta. But after the game, when asked about Tavares, Arteta said, today it was just a tactical reason, how we could attack and control much better in that position. I'm sorry that it was Nuno again, but we had to do it. Essentially, Mikel Arteta here is protecting Nuno Tavares. After that disaster class in the first half, not just from Tavares, but a lot of the Arsenal players, Tavares was getting a lot of stick on social media, a lot of fans on his back, pundits saying he wasn't good enough. But now that Kieran Tierney is confirmed out for the rest of the season, what's Mikel Arteta going to do with Nuno Tavares going into the future? Because we don't have any other left backs in the squad. Tavares is the only one left. I understand that Arteta put Xhaka at left back and he has played there in the past, but going into the future, I don't think Arsenal can afford to disrupt their very important midfield partnership, because after all, Granit Xhaka playing alongside Thomas Partey has been the key for Arsenal in sustaining their top 4 charge. I have seen a few Arsenal fans claim, why not put Bukayo Saka at left back? For me, this is a big fat no, and that's because Bukayo Saka for me is our best attacker as it stands. So why would you take out your best attacker that, even though he can play a left back, and instead of just taking the hits in one position, disrupt both of your right wing and your left back at the same time as well? For me, it's quite simple. As much as it's going to be difficult, and as much as of course I do have my worries, we are going to have to trust young Nuno Tavares. He is our only and most natural left back, and he proved in that first half of the season that if he is given the trust of the Arsenal fan base and from the Arsenal manager, if he's put in the right sort of system, Tavares can thrive in this Arsenal team. Because not so long ago at the start of the season, I was seeing Arsenal fans saying Tavares had overtaken Tierney as the Arsenal starting left back. But talk to me down below in the comments, my friends. What do you guys make of Kieran Tierney being ruled out for the rest of the season, and in his absence, do you trust young Nuno Tavares? But from left back to right back, let's talk Takehiro Tomiyasu, because in an update for Arsenal, they claim that Takehiro is making progress in his recovery from a muscle injury to his left calf, which he sustained in February. It is hoped that Takehiro will be back in full training after the match at Southampton on Saturday, April the 16th. So Arsenal there and there have confirmed that Tomiyasu will miss Arsenal's next 2 games against Brighton and Southampton away. But even that is just full training. What's very important, of course, is going to be match sharpness, because the games after Southampton are going to come thick and fast, and they are hard. We've got Chelsea away, Man United ride at home West Ham away. It's going to be very important for Arsenal to properly manage Takehiro Tomiyasu. This is a guy that clearly has long-term calf issues, but remains a very important player for this Arsenal team, especially after the injury to Kieran Tierney. If we could get a fully fit Tomiyasu back in this Arsenal team ASAP, as long as we don't get any other injuries, Arsenal will still have most of the first team players fit. But having already missed 3 months of the season, I can see some Arsenal fans already shouting, is Tomiyasu seen as injury prone? But as per, talk to me down below in the comments and how important you think the return of Takehiro Tomiyasu is going to be. But the injury blows continue for Arsenal, as according to Chris Wheatley, Thomas Partey is set to go for scans this week after suffering a thigh injury in the same place that he got injured previously. Football London understands that Partey was already suffering from fatigue after his international travels with Ghana. Blow after blow after blow, Mikel Arteta is slowly seeing his very important first team getting unfortunately ripped apart severe injuries. Arsenal themselves on the website claim that Partey will be assessed going into the game on Saturday, but having walked off injured against Crystal Palace in that second half, he looked very fatigued, and the game in general, he didn't look like his normal self that we've seen in 2022. But just like with Tomiyasu and Tierney, Partey is even more important for me in this Arsenal team, because when Mikel Arteta transitioned into that 4-3-3, Thomas Partey's role in this Arsenal team has become even more integral. And I've always said that Partey alongside Granit Xhaka is the key for Arsenal in this top 4 race. This is now going to be a real test for this Arsenal squad, and in particular for a certain Belgian international in Albert Sambi Lokonga. For me, the fact that Arteta threw on Sambi Lokonga to replace Partey as he got injured instead of bringing on the more experienced Mohamed Elneny tells me all that I need to know going into the next few games, that if Partey is to be injured, Sambi Lokonga is going to be his replacement. And to be fair, in that little cameo against Crystal Palace, I think Sambi was pretty decent as that number 6. Yes, the game was at 3-0, so the pressure's off him, but in terms of winning his duels, being progressive with his passes, I can see a long-term future for Albert Sambi Lokonga as that number 6. But now it is not about the long term, it is about the short term. And the question for young Sambi is going to be, is he a reliable enough option for Arsenal in the short term to get us over the line and help us sustain our top 4 charge? As per, my friends, let's talk down below in the comments. What do you guys make of Thomas Partey being a massive doubt for the game on Saturday? And in his potential absence, do you guys trust young Albert Sambi Lokonga to step up and fill in the role? But in more positive injury news, according to James Bench, Nicolas Pepe is expected to be back for Arsenal's game against Brighton on Saturday. And going into the next few games, with Bukayo Saka being a little bit fatigued as well, of course, having a bit of COVID, whether it's off the bench or maybe even starting, dare I say, Pepe is going to play an important role. And as we saw towards the end of last season, when the going gets tough, Pepe can step up. He scored vital goals in the Europa League semi-final and the quarterfinals, and very interestingly, in the absence of KT last season, we did see Mikel Arteta move Cedric Suarez to left back, which saw Nicolas Pepe thrive as that left winger, because of course you had the right foot of Cedric and the left foot of Pepe. There was a very decent combination. What we have to see now from Mikel Arteta is elite man management. At this moment, I want to see Mikel Arteta remain calm and composed. Trust the players that remain fit. We will still have most of our first team spine fit, and it will be a massive end to the season potentially for the likes of Albert Sambi Lokonga and Nuno Tavares. What do you guys make of this massive injury news coming out of Arsenal? Thomas Partey with a thigh injury, Tomiyasu out until mid-April, and Kieran Tierney out for the rest of the season. Do you guys trust Mikel Arteta to get the best out of the rest of the players, and how do you want to see him react in terms of the tactics? Moving on, let's talk Gabriel Martinelli, Arsenal's Brazilian star boy. He came off the bench yesterday against Crystal Palace, and to be fair, he was pretty impressive, but that wasn't a surprise to me as an Arsenal fan. We all love Gabriel Martinelli, and hopefully, fingers crossed, is a long-term future at Arsenal Football Club. But on his Arsenal contract, according to Fabrizio Romano, in the coming months, Arsenal will be in contact with the agents of Gabriel Martinelli. They want to continue with him and offer him a new deal. He is out of contract in 2024, but it's something they want to get done as soon as possible. So as important as it is for Arsenal to secure Champions League footy, it is just as important to secure our long-term future with players like Martinelli and Bukayo Saka. But more importantly now, going into that next game against Brighton at the Emirates, I've got a question for you guys. With Alexandre Lacazette being bang out of form, having not scored an open play goal since December 2021, is it time for Mikel Arteta to unleash the centre forward in Gabriel Martinelli? It's a massive must-win game against Brighton. They have tall and physical centre backs, and it won't be an easy game. So my question to you guys to answer down below in the comments: out of Gabriel Martinelli and Alexandre Lacazette, who should be Arsenal's centre striker going into the game against Brighton? Moving on to some transfer news, according to Chris Wheatley, Arsenal have signed 16-year-old Albanian youth international defender Maldini Kakuri after he was released from Fulham. Arsenal have signed Maldini, but not the Italian Maldini, the Albanian Maldini. I'm not quite sure who he is. I've never watched him play, but this of course goes back to Per Mertesacker and the whole recruitment policy that he has now put in place. And essentially what that is Per Mertesacker wants Arsenal to sign far more players that get released from other academies. And a prime example of that is when Arsenal completed the signing of free agent defender Jonathan Denzei after he was released by Tottenham Hotspur. They are not expensive at all, and what they are low risk signings with potential long-term gain. And that's because if these players come good, of course they can make their way to the first team. But if it isn't to be that case, let's just say Arsenal loan these players out there, they gain some market value, then Arsenal can go and sell these players and gain some cheeky little profits. Moving on to ex-Arsenal manager Unai Emery, who speaking in an interview with The Athletic has said, "I knew that whoever began after Wenger, it was difficult for people to understand the changes that had to be made. Arteta is doing a good job, continuing what I began, and he has had the patience from the fans, the patience they did not have with me, but I can understand that." So Unai Emery praises Mikel Arteta for the work that he's doing, but at the same time almost claims that he wasn't given enough time and patience from the Arsenal fan base. Of course, he was sacked back in November 2021 as Arsenal sat, I believe, mid-table in the Premier League. But in that first year, he got Arsenal into 5th place, a point off 4th place, and also into the Europa League final. But we're not going to speak about that final. Long story short, what do you guys make of what Unai Emery is saying here? And did you think with the work that he was doing at Arsenal, did he deserve more patience? In my opinion, I definitely think that Arteta is far more suited to a long-term project to put in a philosophy than Unai Emery. Moving on to the other Arsenal news today, and starting off with the current Arsenal manager in Mikel Arteta, and after the game he had some very interesting quotes. As he says, "It's unacceptable, we have to put our hands up. Me the first one, I apologise. No, the pressure didn't play a part because the pressure has been there for the last 7 or 8 weeks. We are talking all the time about the race for the top 4. Mikel Arteta has taken responsibility straight away. To be quite honest, I didn't see any massive issues in the tactics of last night, and for me it was far more of an application issue instead, where these Arsenal players were very timid, they were almost scared about the atmosphere, and they weren't imposing themselves whatsoever like they have done in previous games. But looking back at the overall stats of the game, it does show actually a far more even game than a scoreline might suggest, with the XG being 1.3 to 0.9. Not only did Arsenal have more of the ball, but they also got the ball into the final third far more times. And even looking at the expected goals for the game, as you can see in the second half, Arsenal actually overtook Crystal Palace all up until that stupid penalty that Martin Odegaard gave away when Arsenal were chasing the game. Despite of that, I still think Crystal Palace were the deserved winners, but what I will say here is if Arsenal had taken those very important chances at the start of the second half, I'm talking about Emil Smith-Rowe and Martin Odegaard, despite not being our best, we quite easily could have actually got a point out of this game. But despite of that, as I keep saying, Crystal Palace deserved to win this, but despite of that, I have to say fair play to Crystal Palace, fair play to Patrick Vieira, and for Arsenal now in a top 4 battle, it's time to dust ourselves down and look onto the future. But talking about the future, David Coote referee Arsenal vs Brighton with Chris Kavanagh being on VAR. Referees and Arsenal, as an Arsenal fan, you always have to keep an eye on them, but more importantly, Brighton come into the Emirates Stadium, a Brighton team that are bang out of form, they can't score a goal, and an Arsenal team that needs to bounce back as soon as possible after that 3-0 defeat. And we will also be playing this game before Tottenham Hotspur, meaning if Arsenal can get the job done, we will go above Spurs into 4th place and put massive pressure on them as they go to Aston Villa away. And as Mikel Arteta said after the game, this is now an opportunity to see when we talk about unity. If you are on the boat, when everything goes well, everybody wants to be there. So now jump on the boat and give us a hand. But I can understand that we have PTSD from the past, that Unai Emery year, we finished 5th, we were 2 points off 3rd place, we bottled it that year. And I understand looking at Spurs, the way they have Harry Kane firing, Heung-min Son, Antonio Conte, it's not going to be easy. We have hard games, West Ham away, Chelsea away, United at home. But ultimately speaking, I need to remind you guys, Arsenal are still in control of their own destiny. And so at this moment, instead of being panicky and starting to cry, I think we need to, as a fan base, unite once again, as Mikel Arteta says, support this team and help them get over the line. But what do you guys make of the top 4 battle after these massive injuries? And dare I say, are you still confident? Do you still believe that Arsenal can bring back Champions League footy to the Emirates Stadium next season? But that is the video there and there, so if you guys have enjoyed, make sure to go down there and smash a like, and also do subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you would like to follow your boy on them social medias, then the links will be down below in the description. But that was all of the latest Arsenal news today. Hope you guys have enjoyed and been informed as always, and now a gargantuan game looms on Saturday, Brighton at the Emirates. It's Seagulls versus the Gunners. Let's see what happens. Anyways, I'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves, and in a bit.